So I have a tree of cast forms, and I have multiple of these models on the same form, and now I need to get them off of the tree. And so it seems like this would be an easy task, but it's not always. You can use some side cutters that are meant for cutting off sprues for casting, but I find that especially in this situation, I can't actually get into most of these spaces just because of the nature of how I had to sprue them. So for some of the designs, I'm going to have to cut them off first and then go back and cut them again with my jeweler's saw this way. So I almost always do this work with my jeweler's saw. So I just wanted to show that today. Remember that this is cutting an oddly shaped form, so make sure that you're very careful. And I will note that I changed the blade. I'm often using a 1/0 blade or a 0 blade, or even sometimes a 2/0 blade. And now, because my sprue is so much wider, I can start to scale up significantly. So for instance, this is roughly 10 gauge now, so I could go with a 1 blade or a 2 blade or even a 3. So I'm going to use a 1 because it's what I have, but I do want to change my blade to make my life a little bit easier. So this part is a little awkward, and you kind of have to set it up in a way that you don't hit your other patterns. Trying to avoid one of my designs down there. I'm going to kind of see how close I am. And again, because I'm not going for accuracy on this cut, I just need it out of the way so that I can get to the next one. So I'm kind of going to wiggle it free because I was worried about running my blade into that other foot. So here it is. So that one's off. So I generally will do as much of this work as I can without feeling like I'm going to accidentally cut myself, and then I'll go back and fix the individual patterns. And obviously I have my saw frame in a slightly different angle than what I'm used to. Be careful with breaking these off because you don't want to accidentally have a fracture that goes up your piece. I'm quite a bit away from my pattern, so I'm able to kind of do that. I can always check and see if I'm getting close here, but again, I find that I often don't get to use these. So I just kind of have that kinked. It's just not quite strong enough to get in there. I don't have enough torque on that metal. Looks like this one might get closer. Yeah, you always kind of want an easy button for this, but it ends up going back to the jeweler's saw often. You see that I kind of have my fingers way tucked in underneath the bench pen. Really want to make sure that if my blade breaks, pops up a little bit, that I don't get my fingers. So just kind of stay protected behind that wood. And you can see that I'm still not getting all the way next to my actual casting. So let's say that we have gotten all of them off that we want to for that time period. The next step would be cutting it all the way off. And I often cut as much of that as I can so that I have less filing. So one of the main things that we're going to be thinking about, hopefully you can see that where that sprue was, but one of the main things that we're going to want to do is delete that sprue. We don't want anybody to know how that metal was able to flow. And so you can also see that I have this little bubble from not having the best investment. Sometimes I can get that off with pliers, or same thing, I can often get that off with just my jeweler's saw. So there, it just popped off. I'll just do a little bit of extra sanding there. So I don't want to have to do a ton of cleanup on these because I did a lot of cleanup on the wax ahead of time, but I'll often use a sanding disc or even some radial discs for cleanup. So besides quite a few more to go, that's it.